All right. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm just going to get everybody to get their seats. We're going to start the program in a moment there. All right. Good evening and welcome to the February 25th, 2025 Hempstead Town Board meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Supervisor Clavin.
Here.
Councilman Dunn.
Here.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby. Here. Councilwoman Miller.
Here.
Councilman Muscarella.
Here.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Here.
Councilman Schneider.
Here. Okay. I'm going to. Is Amy Zhao here? Amy? Zhao. Amy Zhao? Right. Amy, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, great. Lead us, please. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. And there's a reason I asked Amy to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to get to that. Before we start tonight's formal meeting, I'm honored to be joined by the town board members, but also all of our members of the audience that came here, and a lot of parents for some incredible young people that have really made some remarkable achievements in the town. Each year, the Regeneron Corporation, which is a global leader in biotechnology, hosts a scholarship competition for high school students from across the country. And this scholarship is highly coveted, and the competition is fierce from New York to California and in between. I could tell you the thousands of applications that are submitted every year. This year, the town of Hempstead did amazingly, exceptionally well and produced 10 semifinalists as well as 2 finalists. Nationally, there are over 300 semifinalists, and absolutely right. And when you look at it, and the parents should take a lot of pride in your children, because there are over 300, only 300 semifinalists and only 40 finalists. And it's further proof that the town of Hempstead is home to some of the best schools and educational professionals in the United States of America. Yes, absolutely, to our teachers and our schools. I'd like to introduce some of our semifinalists, and when you are announced, if you would stand and do not hold your applause. First, we'll start with Afia Ahmed from the Elmont Memorial High School. Next, we have Emma Cordatonato and Erica Reville from the Sacred Heart Academy. And remain standing. I totally want to embarrass you. We have Eric Riley from the Lynbrook High School. This is a good one. We have Gabriella Elliott, Jaden Simon, very good. Jaden Simon, Jolene Shao, Mark Frenato, and Mason So, all of the John F. Kennedy High School. Congratulations to all of you. We also have Natalie Osorio from the H. Frank Carey High School. And lastly, we have 2 finalists. One couldn't be here. Melody Hong from the General Douglas MacArthur High School. She could not be here. But we do have Amy Zhao from the Garden City High School, who is our finalist. Together, these high school students worked on graduate and doctorate level courses, spent countless hours in labs, and sacrificed their weekends off to produce groundbreaking research and further and cause of medical and biological science. For example, Amy has been working tirelessly exploring, you correct me, Amy, don't be shy, everybody can correct me, all right? Citrin, a therapeutic target for cancer treatment, and her work has been generating results as her research has shown signs of reducing significant nutrients that cancer cells feed on to grow. Congratulations on that assignment. Our other finalist, Melody Hong from MacArthur, is working on changing the way that scientists identify variants of complex diseases such as type 1 diabetes or neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's. Great work on that. And the final competition will take place down in Washington, D.C. during the week of March 6th with nearly $2 million up for grabs. I know I speak for everybody here, not only from the town board, not only from faculty members, not only from the people I work with, but for every one of your parents, saying congratulations, your dedication and work to reach this achievement. It is something you should embrace and recognize because we want to do that. So on behalf of us in the town of Hempstead, largest township in America, we want to thank you for the great work and great students you are. Congratulations. Now I'm going to ask all of our honorees, we want to do sort of a class photo of all of you together. So if you'd come on up here for a class photo, for a small presentation. And Amy, we're going to stick you in the center if you do not mind. We're going to have you, we're putting extra burden on you today. Oh, this is great. Okay. Great. Come on, we're going to come on down. Come on, Dorothy. We'll get behind the students. Congratulations. No, come back this way. Spread again. Spread again. No, you're the center. So move Tom. Tom, come this way. Yep, that's it. Looking right here, folks, on 1, 2, and 3. Couple more. Another one? Yeah. And 2 more. 1 more. All right, Grace, good shot up there. Come on. Let's hear it for our great students again. Congratulations. Absolutely. Great. I see all the schools that are thank you.
Can we move the, no, back. Thank you.
This is nice. This is like a nice group of kids. Go, Casey. You'll give her the case? No, sorry, I apologize. All right, Madam Clerk, you're good? Madam Court Reporter? All right. Madam Clerk, would you please call the first public hearing?
Yes, tonight we have a proposed local law regarding regulations and restrictions to limit parking in Franklin Square.
Okay, any member of the board, if you heard on this? I do not have the slips in item number 1. Does anybody wish to be heard that did not sign in? All right, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Aye.
Councilman Schneider.
Aye.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Yes, we have a proposed handicap parking on public streets in Elmont and Uniondale.
All right, any member of the board wish to be heard? All right, any member of the audience who wishes to be heard on item number 2, because I don't have anybody that signed in? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
I second the motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Aye.
Councilman Schneider.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have a public hearing determining parcels benefited by construction or reconstruction of sidewalks in Baldwin, Belmore, East Meadow, Elmont, Franklin Square, Garden City South, Inwood, Lido Beach, Merrick, North Baldwin, North Belmore, Oceanside, Seaford, Valley Stream, Wantagh, West Hempstead, Westbury, and Woodmere.
Whew. All right, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? I do have a slips on this. Ms. Merriday, if you're called to speak, I just ask you to please go to that podium and give your name and address in the back. Thank you very much.
Meta J. Merriday, Baldwin resident. With regard to the Baldwin and the North Baldwin locations, I would just like to know what are the addresses for those?
Those 2 locations in particular?
Yes.
Would that be my Commissioner of Engineering or Highway?
And I am wearing my hat today in
Okay, I'm
recognition
going to get
of
the
Black History
reporter on that.
Month, Rise
That's great.
Above,
Jeff, would you
mantra for the Tuskegee Airmen. So I'm just
want to
waiting
come on
as
up
I'm
to
standing
the
here.
front there? Oh, Tom, hey. Dep, if you give your name and address to Ms. Merriday so she knows.
Thomas Taylor, Deputy Commissioner Highway.
I can hardly hear you, sir.
It's Deputy Commissioner Taylor from the Highway Department.
Can he say his own name?
I thought I'd be polite and give him a helping hand in case he's a little soft-spoken, so I was trying to assist. I apologize. Tom, I apologize.
Tom Taylor,
Thank you,
Deputy
Tom.
Commissioner
I
Highway.
guess you have
Okay,
to.
thank you.
You want to know the name of the streets?
For Baldwin and North Baldwin.
I don't have the names right now, but if you give me your address or your number, I can give it to you.
I'll be right back here. You can bring them to me. I'm just curious as to why you don't have the addresses for these locations if it's.
I don't have it offhand.
I'm sorry?
I don't have it offhand right now.
Okay. But you didn't think anyone would come and ask about what's being done in their
Ms. Merriday,
community?
please.
I'm sorry, can I speak
Well,
with
no,
him?
Ms. Merriday,
I'm just
there's a
asking
tone
him
or there is a nice conduct. The commissioner,
I'm not
the
being,
dep, the,
I'm
sorry, Ms.
asking him a
Merriday.
question. I'm
The
not being rude
well,
or
you're not
disrespectful.
here,
I'm asking him a question. Do I not have a right to ask a question as a
Ms. Merriday,
taxpayer questioning
there's a
what
difference
is being
between- I
done in
just
my
wanna let you know
community,
that-
Supervisor?
Respectfully, Ms. Merriday, there's a
And
difference.
respectfully, I am still on my time to ask a question.
If you think that your conduct and how you just spoke to my
Sir,
deputy
was I disrespectful to you?
you
you
know
feel
what,
that I
you were
was
nice, Tom,
disrespectful to you?
you
Can
were
he
nice
not
enough to
speak?
say you will get them and you will provide them to Ms. Merriday.
Better yet,
Thank you very much.
Supervisor,
Yes.
the addresses, Ms. Merriday, have
Yeah.
already been posted on the website.
Oh.
So if you need it immediately, you can go right on your phone and get those addresses right away.
Why do I need to go on the phone if the commissioner is here and the work is going to be done, generated
Well, that's
through
the
town of
problem. The
Hempstead?
commissioner isn't here. Mr. Taylor's the deputy commissioner. So I apologize for my office not having that information for you. And like I said, you can get it immediately on your phone. If you'd like, I'll have somebody get those addresses for you and go into the back, okay?
And that is most appreciated, Mr. Town Attorney. And again, respect is given when respect is received. Thank you so very much.
No problem.
Deputy Commissioner, thank you very much for filling in for the commissioner. I know he had a health emergency, so I'm very, very grateful for you doing that. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this item? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the board adopt the item.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Good evening, Mita J. Meriday. Just questioning with regard to the proposed increase, what is this? Does this entail water towers as well as addressing the increased PFOAs that are contaminating most of the water systems in the town of Hempstead? Residents need to have more information about what's happening and the taxes that we're paying, you know.
Commissioner, if you would identify
Commissioner
yourself.
John Reinhardt, Department of Water, Supervisor, Deputy Supervisor, members of the town board. Item 4 is a public hearing regarding raising of $10.5 million for the East Meadow Water District for the replacement of the Mitchell Street water tower.
Okay, and is that one of the many water towers that have been problematic in terms of leaking and the way they look externally, with a number of them showing the rust of their age? Or what's the order in terms of these water towers being replaced or revamped or whatever you do with them? Because they're vital to us and we're already having significant water challenges that many residents may not be aware of.
No, residents are aware of the condition of the water system. We send out a report twice a year to the residents explaining it all. This is for the replacement of this particular tank. We are in the process of going through repainting and or replacing our tanks. Unfortunately, because of new regulations put out, we've had to add over $250 million worth of treatment over the past 5 years to our systems. And to do that, we cannot take tanks out of service to paint them for an aesthetic purpose. It's more important that we deal with the water quality issues.
Okay, and the funding to provide this type of improvement, is that going to increase costs to residents, or is that going to be impacted by any of the current freezes in federal funding? Do we have all of our funding intact to make this happen for this and any other water towers or water systems that need to be replaced or repaired?
This hearing is to issue the debt to do this tower. That debt would be satisfied through revenue and taxes in the district.
So that gives the impression that there's going to be another increase on
No,
top of what was.
it's in the current finances of the district.
So it's a part of the current financing. There isn't, after
Correct.
this hearing, there's not going to be another referendum or some sidebar reference that people will find out about and get voted on that day.
We work with the controller's office to work on our 5-year capital plan so that these things can be funded.
Okay, but I'm just saying in this particular agenda that there's a number of items from the budget that many people question because of the increase, that there are amended items that most, again, residents do not become aware of unless they take the time to dig through the morass of the website to try to get to the information. So that's why I'm asking.
I'm here to talk about item number 2, which is the replacement of that tower and the financing of it.
You mean item number 4?
I'm sorry, 4.
No problem. I'm hoping I didn't get you flustered or that I was disrespectful to you in any way. That's never
Meriday,
my
do you have
intention.
a question, please?
Thank you so much. I did have a
Ms.
question,
Meriday, we
sir, and I
appreciate it.
added
As always,
answer.
next I have
Thank you so
Pearl.
very much.
Thank you. Pearl Jacobs. You don't want to speak on this one, Ms. Jacobs? Ms. Jacobs, I just want you didn't want to speak on this one? Okay, that's okay. Next I have Chris. Chris Jacobs. Good evening, Chris. If you just give your name and address for the record.
Yes,
thanks.
good evening, Chris Jacobs, Unionville, New York. I'm going to be short and sweet. I'm very grateful that my old rusty water tower will be replaced, and I'm grateful for it. Thank you, Commissioner Reinhardt, and for the advocation for it, and I look forward to the new one. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I do want to signify that the deputy supervisor was an integral part of making sure that that this all happened. So thank you, Deputy Supervisor and Commissioner. Thank you for the good job. You do an exceptional job in the Water Department. We're very fortunate to have you.
Thank you, Lord, for the support. Thank you.
Is there anybody else wish to be heard on this? If not, may I please have a motion?
Okay, I move that the public hearing be closed and the board approve this item.
Second the motion.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella.
Yes.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Aye.
Councilman Schneider.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
Yes, we have a proposed local law regarding a temporary moratorium on battery energy storage system facilities.
Mr. Supervisor, members of the town board, I'd like to set a couple of parameters today. I would ask that all of you refrain from answering any questions from the general public, because in all likelihood, there could be litigation, and anything you say tonight may have an effect on that. And I would let the general public know that we are cognizant of the issues at 4200 Industrial Place, Island Park, New York. We're aware of that. This moratorium is intended to address many issues, including the possibility of that piece of property. I will tell you that I am in possession of a letter from the Nassau County Fire Commission, Office of the Fire Marshal, which indicates to me that they have revoked a permit for that site. So I hope the general public will understand when I ask that we refrain from responding to any questions or inquiries. Tell us how you feel about the moratorium and what we should do, but there is a chance that there'll be litigation, so I'd ask you to be cognizant of that. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, Mr. Town Attorney. I have a number of people that signed in on that. First, I'll start off with, and I see him in the back, Congressman Anthony D'Esposito.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Supervisor. It's great to be back. And I promise for Supervisor Clavin's sake, I won't make it a habit. I want to thank first and foremost the town board and the supervisor for engaging in the community on this very important issue. I would say that this is a continuation of what we've seen since 2021 in what I would describe as really the description of Governor Hochul's tenure as governor, and that is overreach, whether trying to take away our local zoning rights, whether cashless bail and criminal justice reform, whether the green news scam or congestion pricing. She continues to overreach. And as she overreaches, she fails to provide any funding for these mandates. And this is one of them. We have an opportunity tonight, or you have an opportunity tonight, to put a moratorium on large-scale lithium battery storage facilities. And I want to say that I speak on a few hats this evening, one of them being a 25-year member of the Island Park Fire Department. I will tell you that the Nassau County Fire Service is one of the premier fire services in this country, and their training is paramount. But there are very few, if any, fire departments or districts in this country that are prepared to extinguish fires of this nature. Secondly, I will tell you that part of Governor Hochul's mandates requires codes. And the New York State Council of Codes, which is an arm of Governor Hochul, has failed yet to actually provide a fire code for projects of this nature. So when the Nassau County Fire Marshal receives a site plan from the Town of Hempstead Building Department, right now they do not have the ability or authority to choose, for instance, where sprinklers could go or where extinguish opportunities could be placed because there is no code. That Council of Code is supposed to meet this Friday, but we will see if that actually happens. You have heard from almost every elected official on the South Shore, including those of you that sit on the dais, Senator Patricia Canzoneri Fitzpatrick, Assemblyman Ari Brown. I know the mayor of the Village of Island Park is here with his board, as well as others. Who you haven't heard from is, unfortunately, our new federal representative. But I will say that this moratorium is critically important. And once we pass this moratorium, we should think about banning these facilities forever. Mr. Supervisor, I thank you again. I thank you for your open arms. I thank you for your ability to engage. I hope that this moratorium is passed. I hope that the building permits are rescinded. I hope these projects are banned.
I just want to be in the honor of fairness. At 3 minutes, you know how it goes. I'll get picked on by everybody else. So I appreciate you coming down. Yeah, as always, we appreciate your stance. And if you have anything added further, I'm going to ask submit in writing. You know the 3-minute rule. Yep. I know. Next, I'm going to. That's. By the way. folks, you know, I appreciate it, but you know, we'll move the meeting on. We don't want people screaming out terrible names and things like that and being petty. Let's have a really nice, orderly meeting tonight. There are a number of residents in here, and I'm not like the 2-year-old and scream something out like that.
Mr. Supervisor.
Yes, sir.
Just to follow up on Congressman D'Esposito, I have in my possession a joint letter from Assemblyman Harry Brown and Senator Patricia Canzoneri Fitzpatrick, both in support of the moratorium, and I'm going to pass that up to our clerk to make it part of the record.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Supervisor, I have a letter here also from the Island Park School District, specifically Mr. Vincent Randazzo, who's the superintendent of schools. And he's not certain if he submitted this to the clerk, so I would like to submit this as well as part of the record.
Okay, thank you very much,
Thank you.
Councilwoman. Next, I will call Mayor Michael McGinty. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor. If you give your name and address for the record.
Michael McGinty, 416 Long Beach Road, Island Park. Supervisor, Deputy Supervisor, council members, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I will keep it brief. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you all for addressing and voting in the affirmative for this temporary moratorium. And frankly, I would like to see it become a permanent moratorium. These battery storage facilities are a direct and imminent threat to the expansion known as BESS. This clear and present danger from the reckless proposed expansion without oversight, programmatic audit, transparency, or substantive safety protocol measures represents an anathema to all of us. Our first responders, albeit volunteer firefighters, county, and various local police services, are not trained nor equipped nor prepared for the possible conflagration or toxicity inherent to the proposed storage facilities. Again, I ask you to make this a permanent moratorium. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. It's always nice to see you. And every time I see you, I think of our good friend, and God rest his soul, Howard Taylor. It's been a decade since we lost Howard, and every time I see you, I think of Howard. And you know what? That's why you're a special guy, because Howard was really special to me. So I appreciate you very much. Next, I have Chris Panzeca. Hi, good evening. You should give me his name and address. Thank you.
Sure. Chris Panzeca, Glen Head. Thank you for recognizing the dangers best posed to our lives and homes. Moss Landing reignited this week. Reading and listening to the fallout reporting on Moss Landing, you learned health impacts were felt as far as 20 and 30 miles away. There is no known listing of all the contaminants to test for or to know the treatments. Health ailments include metal tastes in the mouth, with one akinning them to her chemotherapy treatment experience. Headaches, skin burns and rashes, burning eyes, nose, mouth, airway passages, difficulty breathing, etc. Environmental issues include residue soot at homes, high metal contamination concentrations at Elkhorn Slough wetlands, impacting the food web from microbes to sea otters, warnings regarding our food supply, dangers because that area is the country's salad bowl. Legal actions are commencing with Erin Brockovich's involvement from Moss Landing. Don't let this horror happen here. When you listen to what these people are going through, it's a nightmare. This technology is not ready for prime time. Dwaynesburg, where Doreen Harris, the head of NYSERDA, lives, has actually banned BESS, along with other jurisdictions here in New York State, because they're just too plain dangerous. Don't you find that one telling? But yet again, NYSERDA and the PSC doubled down yesterday, announcing a push for this agenda with implementation plans and incentives for this TNT, toxic, noxious, ticking time bombs, with yet another DPS case, ignoring the risks. Why do we as residents have to fund the demise of our health, community, and environment? There is no need to rush into this infancy technology and its renewable promises that time and time again exhibit proven risks at the expense of our public health, safety, and environmental integrity. There are no long-term health studies proving any of this is safe for residents or sole source aquifers or the environment during normal operations and when these facilities fail. Proposed fire safety standards don't address the root cause of the issue, which is the batteries are just unstable TNT and don't belong in or near our residential communities. Don't marry this community or any other to first or second generation technology when the fallout doesn't know the boundaries of the lines on a map. We'll be paying for this for years to come with its dangers, and it will become pre-existing non-conforming, when we could wait for better technology that's currently being developed. Lastly, please attend tomorrow's Nassau County Legislature Article 7 hearing promulgating the RAPID Act and giving ORA's control.
Ms. Penza, we have the 3-minute rule, but you can supplement if you want in the email. And as always, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Next, I have Robert Mazzella. Mazzalla? I apologize if I mispronounce your name. How you doing? Name and address. Thank you.
Oops. Sorry.
That's okay, dude.
Rob Mazzella, Glenhead. Billions of taxpayer dollars are being spent on 3 interconnected projects being forced upon Long Island by Albany. As opposition to offshore wind, extremely high voltage transmission cables, and BEST projects mounts, you might see some of these billions being promised for things like community centers, shoreline beautification projects, local fall festivals, and even free turkeys. And lo and behold, opposition wanes and endorsements rise. Proponents of these projects rail that all of the data about whales being killed, toxic, non-recyclable football field-like turbine blades breaking and closing beaches, piping plover habitats being threatened, and the cost of electricity exponentially increasing can't be trusted due to funding sources. But how is anyone to believe that these projects will help solve our global warming problems when the people supplying this information are being funded by companies who will profit from these projects? I'd really hate to believe that we're living in a world where we can't believe or trust any data. That said, I decided to look at data from pro-offshore wind sources. The first thing I looked at was from the U.S. Department of Interior, Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, under former President Biden's watch, figuring this would be data that offshore wind advocates would deem unimpeachable. On page 76 of the Vineyard Wind 1 Offshore Wind Energy Project Final Environmental Impact Study Statement, Volume 2, it says, and I quote, "Overall, it is anticipated that there would be no collective impact on global warming as a result of offshore wind projects." Let me repeat that. No impact on global warming. As Karina Gore once said, the government should not hand over public land to private interests who damage it, all for the sake of a project that not only does not benefit the public, but could do considerable harm. These communities who live within a natural landscape are those who know it best, and they deserve to have their voices heard about all the dimensions of value and meaning that might not be cared about or counted by outside interests. So if there's going to be no impact on global warming and energy prices are expected to rise, why are we taking any health and environmental risks associated with these 3 interconnected projects? With no tangible benefit, why take even the slightest chance that we could actually be doing harm? Long Island is an amazing place to live, and anyone who truly cares about it should want to make sure we know exactly what will happen to it before blindly rushing into something. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Jim Brown. Good evening. Name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jim Brown. I live in Island Park. I lived there for over 12 years. And I thank you for providing me the opportunity to speak at this meeting tonight. My reason for being here tonight is to urge you to firmly reject the idea that the town enact a moratorium on the construction of important proposed battery storage facilities. Battery storage of clean energy is necessary for our energy future, and well-sited and well-built facilities must be put online soon without undue delay. If we are able to meet the current climate crisis we're now experiencing. The same applies to basic alternative energy producing projects as well, such as offshore wind and solar farms. These are needed to provide the renewable energy required to replace fossil fuels, which are rapidly destroying the planet. Battery storage is the critical element that makes it possible for strong energy sources such as wind and solar energy to also be reliable and efficient sources, providing electricity 24/7, even when the wind is not actually blowing and after the sun has set. Some places like California and Texas, blue state and red state, have greatly expanded battery storage. Both states now have facilities that bring clean energy aided by battery storage to millions of homes, making their electric grids more reliable. We should do the same, not only to fight climate change and reach our own legislatively mandated climate goals. Battery storage will also lower energy bills, improve air quality, and provide additional property tax revenue for town services. Now, many of us living along the south shore of Long Island suffered greatly from the ravages of Superstorm Sandy. I and my wife, Gail, had our apartment destroyed by the waters that flooded Long Beach. We eventually located to Island Park, but no longer to live on a first-floor apartment. Thank God. On our walks around town, which we do often, as the mayor knows, you see them all the time, we still see some damaged homes from Sandy, and many that were razed also because of that storm. Also, after minor storms, or even during a high tide, we noticed the predictable flooding of the area. In addition, we frequently view the Barrett fossil fuel power plant on our walks. It is a huge and ominous structure. Aside from killing fish, it spews 1 million tons of fossil fuel emissions each year. There is no doubt that we must aggressively fight climate change. There is also no doubt that battery storage is required for that purpose.
Thank you, Mr.
I guess
Brown.
my 3 minutes is up.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. We got a three-minute rule.
Reject the moratorium.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming. Next, I have Debbie Slott. If you give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Debbie Slott, 11 Julian Place, Island Park. And I thank you for giving us a permanent moratorium, if you could. And thank you for hearing us out. I'm a longtime resident of Island Park, and I'm here because I'm deeply concerned for our beautiful community. The proposed battery energy storage threatens the very fabric of our lives and safety of our homes. We chose to live here for the tranquility and natural beauty, not to become unwilling neighbors to a potential ticking time bomb. These best facilities, while touted as progress, bring with them a host of dangers that we simply cannot ignore. First and foremost, the proximity of this best to our home is alarming. We're not talking about a facility miles away. It's right in our backyard. The risk of fire and explosion is real, and it's terrifying. Lithium battery fires burn hotter and faster than other fires and can reignite even weeks after being extinguished. Is this the kind of threat we want looming over our families day and night? Our community safety net is being torn apart. Insurance companies are already wary of areas with increased fire risks. Where the best nearby, our insurance rate will skyrocket. If we might not even be able to get coverage at all. Let's be clear, without proper insurance, we're left vulnerable and exposed. Financial impact doesn't stop there. Our homes, often our biggest investment, will see their values plummet. Studies have shown that proximity to industrial facilities can decrease property values by up to 7%. For many of us, that represents years of hard work savings vanishing overnight. We live in a flood zone, and best facilities are highly susceptible to flood risk. Water and high voltage batteries are a recipe for disaster. The potential for environmental contamination and health hazards is not just possible, it's probable. I'm deeply fearful of the rising energy costs this might bring. We're being asked to bear the burden of an energy infrastructure they might never benefit us directly. Why should we be the vein for energy transmission while putting our lives and livelihoods at risk? No amount of promised community benefits can outweigh the potential cost to our health and safety. We live on a barrier island with limited evacuation routes. What happens if a disaster strikes and we're trapped, unable to escape the danger we never asked for and were never told about? The transparency has been opaque. Best may have been a place there might have been a place in our energy's future, but the place is not in the heart of a residential community. We must put people first, our families, our neighbors, our future generations. We implore the leaders to hear our voices and ban Best.
Ms. Lott, thank you very much. Next, I have Deborah Dornfest. Good evening. Just give your name and address. Thank you.
My name is Deborah Dornfast. I live at 11 D'Amato Drive, Island Park. Forgive me for any redundancies, but I would like my remarks to be part of the record. Fellow residents of Island Park and Town of Hempstead Council, I stand before you today with a deep sense of concern for our community. Recently, I learned about the battery energy storage system, or BESS, that has been permitted to be built in our residential area. A tightly populated area just blocks away from homes, businesses, Long Island Railroad tracks and station, and even our local middle school, Lincoln Orange Middle School. As a longtime resident who cherishes the safety and tranquility of our neighborhood, I find myself overwhelmed with fear and uncertainty. These battery systems carry a hidden danger that we cannot ignore. I've discovered that when lithium-ion batteries fail, they can go into thermal runaway, releasing flammable and toxic gases that pose a serious explosion hazard. The thought of such a facility in our midst, where we raise our children and build our lives, is truly terrifying. What's even more alarming is the fire service. The Island Park Volunteer Fire Department, the very people we rely on to protect us, are largely inexperienced with fire and explosion hazards of these systems. How can we feel safe when even our first responders may not be fully prepared to handle such emergencies? The potential consequences of a BESS failure are severe. We're not just talking about property damage. We're talking about the risk of injury and even fatalities. The idea that a single cell failure can cascade to hundreds of cells, releasing hot, flammable gases that could lead to an explosion, is horrific. I worry about my family, our neighbors, and our entire community. What if there's an incident while the children are playing outside, or in the middle of the night when we're all asleep? The anxiety and helplessness is overwhelming in face of this looming threat. We didn't ask for this. We weren't consulted about the risk we were being forced to accept. Our homes, our safe havens, are now in the shadow of a potential disaster. This isn't just about maintaining property values. It's about our safety and preserving the peace of mind that comes with feeling secure in our own neighborhood. That's why I'm standing here today calling for an immediate ban on BESS installations in residential areas. We need to prioritize the safety and well-being of our community over any perceived benefits of these systems. Until we can be absolutely certain that these facilities pose no risk to our families, they have no place in our residential zones. I implore our local officials to take action, implement a ban, conduct thorough safety reviews, prioritize alternate locations far away from where we live and raise our families.
Thank you, Ms. Dorn.
Thank you.
If you'd like to submit the rest of that, if you haven't already, you can submit that for the record. You can. That's not a problem. Next, I have Mike Jacobs. Good evening. If you give your name and address to the record, thank you.
Yes, my name is Mike Jacobs, and I'm from Wantagh. I'm listening to everything. What I believe the wonderful board must do is look under the talk. And I have spent a lot of time on this. What BESS is a scam within a scam. The real scam, and they are connected, and they must be talked about, like that 6-foot-something guy said, great talker. This is connected mainly at the beginning to the wind turbine program. And I ask you all, look, I want to believe in it. The guy that talked about this is the greatest. We should also get rid of Uber drivers and use pink unicorns instead. No, you don't need electricity or anything. This is not true. You are going to see Governor Hochul, Governor Murphy, and Janet Mills up in Maine go down chasing, I want to feel good. I do too. And you know something? We have a problem with petrochemicals. Everything needs problem, cause, solution. Everybody talks about the problems. Everybody's talking about the cause. If you ever wanted to be heroes in Nassau County, if someone ever looked at new nuclear energy, and don't tell me about Shoreham, that was a disaster because it was built without having an exit plan. Wasted billions. If you want to really investigate what the future is going to be, and you remember my words when I'm long gone, it's going to be new nuclear energy. Look at what we're doing with these wind turbines. We're destroying the oceans. It's starting to come out as the scam that it is. And it is totally disastrous. My mother and father on Rockaway Beach, 81st Street, when I was a kid, gave me a wonderful legacy. Every one of you have a responsibility not to have that legacy lost on our watch. BESS is part of that. Look at it. Petrochemical companies are selling us this green energy. Equinor, Ørsted. It was called oil, something oil, before it was Equinor. It's a scam. If you took away the subsidies, it would fall apart. So if you want to challenge and you want to say, let's think outside the box, get off of petrochemicals. Let's look for a solution. But you're looking up the wrong tree. I promise you in time, you will see new nuclear energy will be the answer. Let's be brave enough to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. Next, I have George Paval. Good evening. If you your name and address for the record.
How you doing? My name is George Poval. I'm Executive Director of All Our Energy. I am from Point Lookout, New York. And to remind you who we are, we help the town of Hempstead and Conservation and Waterways Department institute a monthly beach cleanup. And I appreciate all of you coming out all the times that you did for helping. Thank you very much. So I'm here today to speak not in favor of any particular battery storage project, but just to say that it's well within the town of Hempstead's not just purview, but responsibility to establish your own codes for what is going to happen with BESS. We are in favor of well-regulated and well-built projects in the right locations, but we don't necessarily take any position on any of the developers' plans. That's for you. That's for you to come up with the the regulations and the zoning that the town is well within their rights to establish. I think that there is a huge potential future for this if you take the challenge on and find the place that they can be done well and they can be done correctly. And that's what we're going to urge you today. Our organization would like to see good grid resiliency, renewable energy, and definitely cleaner energy on our grid. This can lead to lower electric bills. I'm not sure if you're aware, but on your current LIPA bill, starting last August, you're paying about $20 extra a month to keep the very heavily polluting and very highly subsidized fossil fuel peaker power plants online, and not just online, but profitable. That's in addition to a $35 increase on everybody's national grid bill that went into effect this year, which will rise to $64 a month by 2026, a 40% increase for fossil gas in 3 years. I didn't hear anybody in this room complain about that. Our organization was the only one that fought that rate increase. So I urge you today to stand up for the residents in the right way. Most of what I'm hearing here today is fear-mongering nonsense. You can make the codes. You can make them train the fire professionals who have refused the training that was offered to them already. No one wants to talk about that. Everybody wants to say they're protecting our first responders. Well, they're not even protecting themselves. Make the codes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, I have Kevin O'Keefe. Good evening. Your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Sure. Hello?
Yeah.
My name is Kevin O'Keefe, Devon Street in East Meadow. I support what George just said. I think you do need to build the codes. These battery security systems, excuse me a minute. The battery energy storage systems do improve grid resiliency. It does lower electric bills, as he mentioned. It does provide revenue for town services, and it does provide cleaner air for our residents. So it is up to you as the town to take this into an understanding that this is coming, and how can it affect us, and how can we benefit from this? Okay? If the Island Park location and the way it's arriving is not working to your satisfaction, and your fire department needs to be addressed and corrected, and not corrected, but trained. If that technology is to your satisfaction, that's something you have to really consider. Okay, I am not a professional.
No, we're
in
not
this.
going to have yelling at. Everybody gets an opportunity. Come on, let's.
I am not a professional in this. I'm a resident that would like to see change. Renewable energy is something that we should be pursuing, without a doubt. Okay, the technology, like I said, will lower bills. If you understand how the battery storage system works, it gets charged up when the energy is cheap, and then it's used during peak hours when it's more expensive, reducing the peak usage charges that we pay and lowering our bills. Okay, this can take place like on one of those hot days when everyone arrives at 5 o'clock, come home from work, it's hot, crank out the air conditioning, and out of that, we hit peak hours. Okay, it's sort of buy low, sell high like the stock market. Okay, it's also an opportunity for us to reduce. Okay, battery storage projects will also immediately reduce our reliance on the dinosaur, outdated gas power plants we have. They're in our communities. They're polluting our air right now, in our water, polluting our climate. We need to help our communities. You need to help our communities. Okay, and the last thing, to your benefit, it does create revenue, okay, for the town. The town, initially it'll create jobs if you decide to use battery storage systems. It will initially create jobs and, similar to everything else. It'll contribute to local economies, creating jobs. It'll create demand for local goods and services during the construction period. Once operational, The long-term revenue for local governments and property tax payments from the battery storage projects will be a source of stable dollars, okay? It will improve roads. It will help with local services. It'll help train the local fire departments. This technology works in other states.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
No, Mr. Thank you. Next, I have ladies and gentlemen, please, Kathleen Sullivan, please. How you doing? Name and address. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kathleen Sullivan. I live on 107 Coolidge, Long Beach, New York. And I would like to say I'm a proud resident of Point Lookout for 35 years and Long Beach now 20. I'm here today to voice my adamant opposition to the BESS, the Battery Energy Storage System projects being proposed across our communities in the Barrier Island, but especially in Island Park. Let's start with one simple question to all of you. Do you know what our carbon footprint is to the world? It is 15%. What does that mean? Even if we reduce our footprint to zero, what are you going to do about the 85% of the rest of the world that remains unsolved? So I ask you, what are we really accomplishing here? Are we going to bite our nose off to spite our face? So I ask, what are we really accomplishing with all these risks and we just bit off our face, our nose? Look at the fire risk. Not if, but when. Lithium ion batteries are notoriously dangerous. Okay, they're banning the bikes. They can overheat, catch fire, and explode, especially if they are damaged, improperly used, or exposed to extreme conditions. And make no mistake of it, it is not the question of if, it is when. So just look at what happened in Moss Landing. Okay, have you looked at what happened in Moss Landing? It happened on January 17th. Those residents are crying for help, right? They have toxic chemicals in the air, endangered the residents, and required extensive emergency response. We don't have that here, right? We have volunteers here. Point Lookout, Island Park, yeah, we have paid in Long Beach, but very few. We cannot afford the kind of disaster here in our backyard. Toxic chemicals and health hazards, fires from these battery storage systems don't just burn, they poison. With lithium on toxic chemicals like hydrogen fluoride and carbon monoxide, both of which are deadly to the humans and the environment. We have seen the devastating health hazards unfolding in Moss just now. Let's talk about the Lloyd's Aquifer, our only last remaining for clean water. If that gets damaged, we're going to have to pay for water upstate. And really, that would be even more costly than what you're claiming is a benefit in the rate to the ratepayer on this energy. It's an entire threat to our entire South Shore. If something explodes, it can go 35 miles north, south, west, or east. What are you going to do, right? It explodes in Island Park. You're going to have to evacuate Long Beach, Point Lookout. You're going to have to evacuate also to the north. And yet our carbon footprint doesn't even get reduced. It doesn't get reduced at all. Matter of fact, it increases. These projects are an illusion. Please ban BESS.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Next, I have Tony Egan. Hi, if you give your name and address, thank you.
Tony Egan, 15 Radcliffe Road, Island Park, New York. The 40 milliwatt Ryland BESS is planned just feet from residential homes, our middle school, a church, and many businesses, and the third rail of the Long Island Railroad. I'm here today to address a critical issue facing our residential communities, BESS. While these systems are claiming to be a step towards a greener future, they pose a significant and often underestimated threat to our safety and the well-being of our brave volunteer firefighters. Let's be clear. BESS fires are not your ordinary house fires. They are complex, unpredictable, and extremely dangerous. Lithium-ion batteries in these systems can undergo thermal runaway, releasing toxic gases and creating explosive environments. These fires can reach flashover in as little as 24 seconds and always pose an electrocution hazard. Now, consider this. Our firefighters are volunteers. They selflessly give their time to protect our community. They train often and hard, but there is not enough training to put out these fires. You must understand that best fires cannot be extinguished with water or chemical flame retardants. They must burn themselves out, all while ejecting various toxins into the air, with episodes of reigniting like trick candles on a birthday cake. The inability to extinguish these fires is especially apparent in BESS installations where there are hundreds of these batteries in a proximity to one another within each BESS container. Is it fair to ask them to risk their lives facing a hazard that they're not prepared for because there is no way of actually putting them out? I say it's not. The harsh reality is that BESS fires have already claimed victims among firefighters. In April 2019, an unexpected explosion at an Arizona energy storage facility injured 8 firefighters. This incident serves as a stark reminder of the risks we're asking our volunteers to take. We must also consider the broader impact on our community. BESS fires produce not just flames, but toxic smoke that poses a serious danger to densely populated areas. The risk extends beyond the immediate vicinity of the fire, threatening the health and safety of our entire neighborhoods. In conclusion, while we all support clean energy initiatives, we cannot do so at the expense of our safety and the lives of our volunteer firefighters. We must ban BESS bombs in our residential areas. Without proper safety measuring, training, and equipment in place of BESS are a recipe for disaster. Our community's safety and the well-being of our brave volunteers must come first. Thank you.
Next, I have Veronica Dalton. How you doing? Name and address, thanks.
Good evening. My name is Veronica Dalton, and I live at 141 Madison Avenue, Island Park, New York. Thank you for the opportunity to express my fears and concern about this BESS situation that they would like to have in Island Park. Been living in Island Park for 23 years, and before that I lived another 20 years in Medford, so I am what they call a true Islander. I want to say that I'm here, I want to speak on a personal, from my heart. I'm not a scientist or anything like that, but I did go through, I was exposed to toxic chemicals during 9/11. So I know firsthand what it's like to live a life after being exposed to these chemicals. I am a mother, 9/11 first responder, and a cancer survivor. 24 years ago, I was called to the call of duty, and on that fateful day, I rushed to ground zero. Little did I know that the very act of helping others would later compromise my own health. The toxic ashes that filled the air that day would eventually lead to my cancer diagnosis. As I fought my personal battle against cancer, I promised myself that I would do everything in my power to protect my sons from experiencing such health struggles. I vowed to create a safe environment for them to grow and thrive. But now I find myself facing a new threat to their well-being, the proposed BESS in our community. As I stand here today, I can't help but draw parallels between the potential risk of BESS and the unforeseen consequences I experienced as a 9/11 responder. We must learn from history and prioritize the health and safety of our community above all else. I implore you to consider the human cost of your decision. This should be the priority over profit. Think of the families, the children, the future generations who will inherit the consequences of your choices today. The Moss Landing incident has shown us that even with advanced technology and safety measures and training, for the gentleman who said that first responders need better training, even with all of that, okay, accidents happen and things cannot be prevented, all right? And your lives or anyone else's lives should not have to pay the consequences for that. I have a lot more. Obviously, I'll turn that in.
You can turn it
I'll
yourself,
submit it.
And it's always good to see you, and thank you for your
Thank
service.
you.
Always a
I also have a mask if the board would like to look at it. It was the
submit it up
escape
here. We'll make it
hatch.
part of the record. We're happy to.
Sorry?
Submit it up here, and we'll make it part of the record. All right?
Well,
We'll
it
get
was
back to you.
to view.
Yeah, I got you.
Would I get it back at the end, or?
Madam Clerk? how
I'm
does
just
that go?
trying to give you an idea of
I got you. I got you.
where something like that.
Okay. You can send us a link in the email. That'd be perfect. Next, I have Steve Ralston. Okay, yeah. Good evening. Name and address for the record.
Thank you. I'm Steve Ralston. I live in Baldwin, at 823 Stanton Avenue. Cleaner air is the way forward. Long Island's electric grid relies overwhelmingly on outdated gas-fired power plants that pollute our air, water, and climate. Battery storage projects will help us immediately reduce our reliance on these polluting plants and help our communities breathe easier. Battery storage facilities are a part of a bright future. George Povall is right. Locate it in a place we can all agree on. The Sierra Club does great research. The Sierra Club supports BESS. A moratorium delays our successful transition to renewable energy. The Green New Deal helps us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ralston. Next, I have Daniel Slatter. Good evening. If you give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Daniel Axtatter. My address is 24 Franklin Place, Oceanside. So I've lived in Oceanside for pretty much my entire life. I have a small business there. My mother's lives in the Oceanside Cove, which if you stand out across the street, you can see the gas peaker plants at the Barrett Station directly across the street. So the way I see this proposed moratorium suggests that the message that this sends is that our current polluting fossil fuel-based energy system is okay. That the increased flooding that we're seeing in our area over and over again is okay. That the wildfire smoke that we've experienced the last 2 years is okay. And that the risks that we know for a fact that is already built into our existing energy system is okay. So, if there may be certain people here that believe that's all phony baloney, but the science is there. It's been around for a long time, and so we know what the existing system is already doing to our communities. We know what those peaker plants that are directly across the street from my mother's house are doing. And this moratorium suggests that we're okay with that. The system is fine as it is, and the risks that we know scientifically are coming are totally fine. So if you think all those issues are not a problem, I understand why you'd be in favor of this moratorium. I don't believe that. And I don't believe that's what's best for the community that I've lived in my whole life. So, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Next I have Fred Harrison. Good evening, name and address, thank you.
Yes, my name is Fred Harrison. I live in Merrick, 62 Eleanor Avenue. For the past several years, I have gone to every single LIPA hearing meeting having to do with dealing with the second highest electric rates in New York State. And that's why I'm here this evening, because I know that the town of Hempstead can begin to do something about this. The town has taken a lot of good steps in terms of renewable energy. And I compliment it on its commitment to new renewable energy. It's right on your own website. Part of that commitment has to be to renewable energy battery storage, and that too is on your website. The leadership of the town is in a pickle. How do you deal with the fears, the legitimate fears that people have on the one hand, and the real energy situation and energy needs on the other? How do you finesse that? How do you exercise wise leadership? When I was a teacher for 40 years in social studies at Calhoun High School in Merrick, I used to work with what was called the Model United Nations. And what we did is we set up model examples of how institutions worked and involved students in that. And it was a way of bringing people together, dealing with problems, and finding solutions. Well, in New York State, NYSERDA has what's called the Battery Energy Storage System Model Law. I recommend it to you in place of a moratorium, because what it calls for is a serious task force to look at the complexities of the situation going forward. Leadership means providing a way forward, and we do that by bringing people around the table to discuss their fears, to look at solutions, and to find best practices. Moratoriums don't do that. Moving forward means taking charge, taking leadership, and helping us find a sensible path forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Next, I have Tim Kramer. If you give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Hi, Tim Kramer, Long Beach. I stand before you today with a heavy heart and burning anger. We are facing a grave threat to our communities, our safety, and our very lives. I'm talking about battery energy storage system, or also known as BESS. These monstrosities are being forced upon us under the guise of green energy, but make no mistake, they are ticking time bombs waiting to explode. How can we trust these systems when we're told not to leave our e-bike batteries plugged in overnight? Yet they expect us to accept massive BESS installations running 24/7 in our neighborhoods. This is not a question of will these cause catastrophic fires, but when. And when they do ignite, the fires are uncontrollable, releasing toxic fumes that will poison our air, water, and most importantly, our bodies. This isn't about clean energy, it's about lining the pockets of corporations who are profiting from this climate crisis scam. They're gambling with their lives to enrich their shareholders, and for what? The most expensive and unreliable energy source known to man. Meanwhile, we're sitting on one of the largest natural gas reserves in the world. Natural gas that could bring unprecedented prosperity to our state, create jobs, and provide affordable, reliable energy. But no, they'd rather push these death traps upon us. A moratorium isn't good enough. We demand a complete ban on the BESS. To any politician or official considering approving these projects, you will have blood on your hands. The lives lost in e-battery fires are just a preview of the devastation BESS will bring. The devastating impacts on food, people, water, animals, and agriculture in Moss Landing will be compounded here because that is a rural area and we are densely populated. We won't stand by while you gamble with our safety. We won't let you poison our communities, and we certainly won't foot the bill for your green energy scam. It's time to wake up and learn before we burn. Ban BESS now or face the wrath of the people you were sworn to protect. The time is now. Our lives depend on it. And before I leave, I just want to ask the question, how many votes did you guys get from these BESS corporations? Exactly.
Okay, next I have Michelle Leo. Just give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Michelle Leo, 468 Long Beach Road, Island Park. Good evening. My name is Michelle Leo, and I'm an Island Park resident. I really appreciate that you're finally recognizing that BES will adversely affect our health and safety by putting forth this vote for a moratorium. Right now, I'd just like to address some of the lobbyist comments. Right now, we pay $36 per megawatt. Now, over the summer, Hochul signed contracts with Equinor, and now those increase to $155 per megawatt. $3.3 billion for propel cables, and Long Island batteries are costing us billions of dollars. Considering what's happened at Morse Landing, and at this point, we're asking for a full ban with emergency ordinances in residential communities. What that means is that we're demanding that there are no applications, no permits, no approvals within town limits, and we want it in writing. Morro Bay has a 45-day plan, a 45-day ban. This ordinance lasts for 45 days, and the city directed staff to return with another ordinance next month, extending the urgency ordinance to January 2027. We demand the same thing. Codes and recommendations by Governor Hochul's Fire Interagency Working Group have recommendations. Recommendations do nothing to address the instability and toxicity of batteries. In January 16th, Moss Landing Vistra BES burned for 5 days, and a month later was on fire again. Will Ryland provide HEPA air filters for all of these homes when we have a shelter in place? And what does that mean anyway? The air still gets through the vents. Moss Landing timeline was ridiculous, and the residents weren't notified for many hours after the fires were started. Let me state for the record, I spoke with the fire marshal who approved this battery storage for our community and asked him, why did he not inform the mayor or the Island Park Fire Department? He asserted that he didn't need to inform anyone, and he hung up on me. BES have no place in any areas with anything sensitive. They belong nowhere near people's homes, schools, hospitals, and any other sensitive locations. There are no long-term health studies on the impacts of heavy metal toxins from these BES bombs contaminating people in the environment. People are suffering from breathing in toxic chemicals from the plume of smoke as a result of Moss Landing BES fire. Mayapack, Dwaynesburg, Amsterdam all have laws and ordinances banning BES for the same reason, and we want it banned in our community. Escondido, Morro Bay, and Yorktown are all considering bans. State Assemblyman Sam Pizzarello was present at a meeting in Staten Island and made harsh comments to 9DOT, another battery developer. Batteries have nothing to do with clean energy. At the same meeting, a 9DOT battery representative, Anthony, I'll submit for the record.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Christina Kramer. Good evening. Your name and address for the record. Thank you.
My name is Christina Kramer, and I'm a Long Beach resident, mother of two, business owner, and president of Protect Our Coast, Long Island, New York. I stand before you today with a heavy heart and a sense of betrayal. For 2 years, I've been fighting with Protect Our Coast against wind turbines in our ocean and high-voltage cables snaked through our residential streets right in front of our homes. Little did I know that this was just the beginning of a larger, more insidious plan. These aren't just cables. They're meant to connect BES. The impacts of the cables and the BES cannot be overstated. Many of us have invested our entire lives into our homes. How can you justify this potential financial blow BES facilities and these cables will bring to hardworking families? We learned that BES cables are being installed for the wind turbines to transport energy upstate for AI and large data centers. Ask Kathy Hochul. Our Long Island communities will be the sacrificial energy veins. Let's be clear, Rhineland. You don't care about us. You care about nothing but profit. Even if the BESS goes up, the Barrett power plant will remain operational, so no savings there either. We've been told that these BESS are for renewable energy sources, but have you considered that these BESS, these filthy, greedy corporations purchase low and store it only to sell it back at the highest rates to the consumers? These BESS are nothing more than another money-making scam on the backs of the ratepayers that will put our health and safety at risk. And you're voting to let it happen. We don't want this, and we will continue to fight every step of the way. 1,200 people from the rural area of Moss Landing were evacuated across an 8-mile radius, and the health impacts were recorded up to 30 miles from the 300-megawatt BESS. Do you know what an 8-mile evacuation would look like in our densely populated communities? If we just had to evacuate 1 mile, we would have to evacuate 10,000 residents. If it were 2 miles, we would have to evacuate 50,000 residents. And at 6 miles, it would be 400,000 residents. Are you prepared for that? Where are you going to put all these people? How are we going to house these people in the event of a BESS bomb fire? Rhineland, we will never let this BESS bomb in our community. We know that you'll try to tell us that your batteries are safer. Maybe you'll be coming up with some newer batteries. But let me assure you, the newer batteries, they burn hotter and they'll expel even higher levels of toxins. They may be safer in some way, but they are not safe. I don't have enough time to read the rest of this, but I just want to ask that instead of a moratorium, we do a BESS ban. Learn before you burn, like Moss Landing.
Ms. Kramer. Okay. Next
I'd like to submit these for the record. Thank you.
Next I have Harvey Miller. Your name and address for the record, please.
Harvey Miller, East Meadow. Firefighters aren't trained yet. Well, of course they're not. The batteries aren't there. Why would they train them now? Right? Lithium ion, such an evil curse. How many of you have them right now in your pocket, in your homes? And are they in thousands of cars now? When was the last time you saw one of those car fires?
We're not going to...
Okay, one of them out of thousands. Pretty good.
Let's let everybody have their opportunity.
In the past, new tech has always scared people. Did you know that cars were feared by people? The very concept of electricity was feared by people. Telephones were seen as a big threat. And now here we are, and this is the next thing. And as far as the statement that by Congressman Esposito, that this should always, never be allowed, that's a perfect example of a closed, rigid mind. Study it. It might help you in the future. Okay. And as far as his statement about no funding for it, of course not. These are usually funded by the local municipalities and corporations. That's how it's usually done. The point is that this issue is about the reliability of energy and not politics or fear. Take the fear away and change it for ideas for solutions, like some people have said. We've all experienced the disruptions caused by power outages. Implementing battery storage systems can provide a reliable backup power source, ensuring that essential services are operational when we need them, cheaper and with prices that stay stable. Yes, I understand concerns about safety, particularly regarding fire risks. While incidents like the Moss Landing fire in California have occurred, they are exceedingly rare. The Electric Power Research, I'm going to quote stuff because it's data-based, it's not based on your feelings, blind feelings. The Electric Power Research Institute reported that a 97% decrease in such events from 2018 to 2023, even as battery storage capacity expanded significantly. By adapting advanced technologies and stringent safety protocols, we can effectively mitigate these risks. And I'm not just saying that, let me prove it to you. Financially, battery storage is a sound investment. The Village of Minister in Ohio implemented a solar plus storage project, becoming the first municipal utility in the U.S. to do so. This initiative had provided financial benefits and energy resilience to their community. That's a fact.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Miller. We appreciate it. Next, I have Karen Riskin. Karen Riskin? Okay. How you doing? Name and address for the record, please.
Karen Riskin, Long Beach, New York. The topic is the electric school buses. As for electric school buses, I understand that New York State plans to convert the entire school bus fleet to zero emissions by 2035. Research and indicates that the electric buses can reduce children's exposure to harmful diesel exhaust. Our buses are natural gas, which is a clean energy. If the fleet is not all natural gas, I hope we can make the investment to make them all natural gas. We have already made the investment in the infrastructures. I am here to discuss some of my concerns as a parent and a grandparent. I learned that the thermal runaway is a chemical reaction that can occur when a lithium-ion battery cell overheats, leading to rapid temperature increases and potential combustion. I have seen how fast these electric vehicles ignite and fear that won't be enough time to get all the children in time if there was a spontaneous combustion. Also, as a parent and grandparent, I would be uneasy sending my children and grandchildren to school on an electric bus every day. There wouldn't be enough benefit if all the parents decided to drive their children to school. Please consider being our first line of defense to Governor Hochul and let her know that our districts do not want to make the very expensive and unsafe transition. This should be a decision that each district chooses to do, not what they are pushed to do. To learn more about BESS and the dangers of lithium batteries, please follow Protect Our Coasts, Island Park, New York BESS Facebook page. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Riskin. Next, I have Diana Goldblatt. Diana Goldblatt? Okay. Jeff Goldblatt? They could be related. Jeff Goldblatt? Okay. Tammy Palmieri? Hey. Hi, just give your name and address to the record. Thanks.
My name is Tammy Palmieri. I live at 34 Liberty Street in Deer Park. I have friends who live in this area, and I'm here to speak for them. I live in the town of Babylon that has had the wherewithal to put a moratorium on BESS, and if they could do it, I know the town of Hempstead can do it too. Recharge News is the world's leading provider of business intelligence for the renewable energy industries. I am submitting its March 5th, 2024 report on a 6-year audit by Clean Energy Associates, which found, and I want everybody to listen to this, fire safety tech manufacturing defects in more than 25% of grid energy storage systems. 25%. It rightly concludes the past several years have shown that thermal runaway poses a significant risk to the energy storage industry. The recent catastrophic lithium BESS at Moss Landing, California, proves that point. Can everybody take a look at this right now, or is that fear-mongering? That's not fear-mongering. That is their reality. That's what we're here for. We're fighting that coming into our communities. Their county supervisor, Glenn Church, implored, this technology is ahead of the government's ability to regulate it and the industry's ability to control it. Shockingly, that fire reignited itself over a month later. People are posting their symptoms online, and it is heartbreaking. That 6-year BESS audit tells us it is not safe to place a 40-megawatt BESS in Island Park within 2 miles of 6 schools and within feet of homes and businesses. If there was a fire, and we know from that study that the odds are not in our favor, what does that evacuation look like? All contingencies for that worst case scenario must be planned. Long Island is served by dedicated volunteer firefighters, but they have full-time jobs. Their availability is very much limited. It is the reason why upstate Somers Fire Department vehemently opposed the Mahobec BESS. Their commissioner wrote, most of the volunteers have full-time work. Therefore, it is very concerning the availability of volunteers to stand by for days or weeks, ensuring that any new outbreak will be swiftly handled. I would like to submit that Reese Charge News article to the board. It would be unconscionable for you to even consider putting a BESS within 2 miles of 6 schools near homes and businesses after reading the statistics.
Thank you, Ms. Palmieri. Say hi to our good friend Rich Schaefer. He's a good guy. Next, I have Joseph Nahum. Good evening, your name and address for the record.
Joseph Nahum,
I'm
Long
sorry,
Beach,
dude.
New York.
All right.
Good evening, community members. My parents and grandparents and great-grandparents were Lido Beach residents. In 1962, the year that my mother and grandfather moved to Lido Beach was Hurricane Donna. That was the storm that the ocean and the bay met each other. It wasn't until Hurricane Irene in 2011 that the bay and the ocean met each other again. In the following year, 2012, we know it was Superstorm Sandy. That year, my mother was in a nursing rehabilitation facility, and we lost our home, and I had to go to her where there was unfortunately no power. There was no power to make the elevator run because there is a lack of an efficient energy grid here. And I kept telling myself, things must improve. And there are things that were in our capabilities back then that we could have had, and we can have 5 years ago when this grant was written, and we can have now. So after moving out of Lido Beach, because starting a family, I'm a father, I started working for Empower Solar, and I just did what I could for a job. And one of those things was auditing facilities for batteries, and many of them were fire departments. Ladder 111 in Brooklyn has batteries because it's helpful that your first responders are able to pump water out of their departments when they're flooded. You need alternative energy. And let's remind ourselves, in 2012, when we didn't have energy, there were tankers of natural gas waiting to port because of what Barrett Plan is perpetuating, which is sea level rising. That's data proven. So as our leaders, I want to know, are you up for the task to lead? Otherwise, I don't get what we're going to be doing with another moratorium on technology that can be improving us today. And the what was referenced before in the Vineyard Wind was regarding a subcontractor, not the grand project, but a subcontractor's effect on climate change. The subcontractor's impact does not impact, its project does not impact climate change. Also, we're living over natural gas lines. It costs $10 million to maintain it every mile for 10 years. This is cost prohibitive unless we go with BESS.
Arthur Schnee? Okay. Next I have, oh, I'm sorry. Good evening, if you give your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I live in Massapequa, New York, Biltmore Boulevard. I'm here today because I'm very concerned about the BESS plant, not only here in Hempstead, but all Long Island. I'm asking for a permanent ban in the town of Hempstead here. I'm very concerned. I see what's happening in Morse Landing and how far this is spread through other communities, not just the local area, but miles and miles away. I'm concerned that the fire will affect me many ways through the waterways. I live on the water, and the chemicals that are going to be leached into the water in case there's a fire or some type of something that happens with these battery storage systems, that it leaches into the water. I fish, I swim in the waters here. So I'm very concerned about this. The air being filled with toxins. I remember just last summer from the wildfires, we could smell the smoke here on Long Island, hundreds of miles away. Imagine when all these toxins, if we have a disaster here. I'm not saying that we will, but there's a good probability that something could happen, and why take that chance? I know this is all about money. The companies have a lot of money. They have a lot of community benefits. I hear every town say, what community benefit is this for us? Taxes, whatever else that they're doing. They have a lot of money to hire experts to tell how safe this is. They're experts. I remember experts saying how safe cigarette smoking was. And now we know differently. I remember Grumman was here to help in Long Island, to help jobs and manufacture stuff. And now we're facing the consequences from from our underground water being contaminated. I even went to a symposium on lithium batteries, and I was talking to the fire commissioner over there and told me if they built one in my neighborhood, I would move out. And that's from the commissioner. Don't let this happen to Long Island. This is a Long Island problem, and hopefully you stop it here by banning them completely. And clean energy is on the horizon. Other clean energies that will be safe will be on the horizon. Let's not be, someone told me, Assemblyman said that. Thank you very much there.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Marissa Ferreira? How you doing? Name and address?
Hey, how you doing? I'm Marissa Ferrara, and I live in Long Beach, New York, on Coolidge Avenue. So I hear a lot about people talking about history. My friend Val got up. She was talking about 9/11. This BESS is going to be next to an elementary school. So I'm a very proud mother of 2 children, and their friends attend that school. So in the event that this should just blow up, which is a 1 in 4 chance, by the way, I don't know if everybody heard that, but that's a 1 in 4 chance. That's a really high probability that that can happen, okay? What does that look like for students? What does that look like for children that have underdeveloped lungs? And then what does it do when those particles and fragments get stuck in their bloodstream? Are you guys all going to be liable? That's what I would like to know. I would like to know who forged the science to even bring this to the table. That's a big deal, you guys. We're talking about right now there's a chronic health condition in our country, right? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is working on it. Yeah. Yeah, but like 1 in every 36 children's autistic, and like all of these kids have cancer.
Sir, we're going to ask you to politely stop with your antics and your outbursts, or we'll be asking you to leave the building.
And this is just so we're all on the same page. You don't hear anybody that's anti-Bess acting like that. Just so that we're all on the same page, okay? So my point to you is that we're having issues with pediatric cancer to begin with. We don't want to have to go back to telling Grumman not to dump, right? We already know the health risk that came from that. High breast cancer, high pediatric cancer rates. So I'm asking you now, just put a stop to it. Put a stop to it. You can save children's lives right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Next, I have Jack Vobis. Jack Vobis? Okay. Good evening. Name and address for the record.
Good evening. Jack Vobis, 190 Franklin Avenue, Island Park. I am the president of the Island Park Board of Education. Honorable Supervisor Clavin, council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm going to keep it short. As I understand, our councilperson Ryder has already entered our letter from Mr. Randazzo into the record, so I won't bother reading it. I will summarize. It's a little different than a lot of the other speakers, and I'll touch on that. One of the concerns of the school district is that where the plant is located, first of all, is very close to our Lincoln Owens Middle School, but in the midst of a 10-year litigation with LIPA, we had the foresight to opt out of real property law 487, which gives the school district the opportunity to communicate with anyone that intends to build any type of power source within the district. It basically saves our taxpayers the burden of bearing the taxes that would normally be borne by those power plants. As you know, LIPA, when they devalued the Barrett power plant, created an increased burden on our taxpayers. So we were looking to stop that. One of the problems here is that when this was put into place originally 2 years ago, we were never notified, and the school district was supposed to be notified. So what I'm seeing is I hope in the future, as I understand that the building permit has been revoked, and that in all likelihood there will be a moratorium issued here tonight. But hopefully this is a notice for the future that anyone that's going to develop any kind of energy, either at that location, whether it's made safe, or the training is better, and we can get past all the issues that we've heard about tonight, that the school district will be put in a position where that our exemption from the real property tax law 487 will put us on at least at the bargaining table with the developers and anyone else who's going to build any type of plant or any type of energy source within Island Park. In closing, I just thank everyone for their comments, everyone from Island Park that came and spoke out, and I thank you for sitting and listening patiently, and I appreciate that. And to all our friends from outside communities that aren't within the danger zone, you're welcome for 50 years of electricity from the taxpayers in Island Park that had to deal with the pollution of the Barrett power plant. So, and if anyone in any of those communities is aware of any parcels near their homes that they can recommend to anyone that wants to develop a power plant or any type of energy source, please feel free to contact them and urge them to build it in your community. Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any other slips. Is there anybody who wishes to be heard that did not sign in? Then I'd ask you to please go to the back podium. Anybody? Okay. Anybody? Okay. Yep, gotcha. Good evening. If you give me name and address for the record, thank you.
Good evening, Stacy Richardson, Unidale, New York. I am the president of Unidale Empowerment Resource Center, and I want to say thank you to Deputy Councilwoman Dorothy Gooseby. You have been a great help to the Unidale community, and also Supervisor Don Clavin. Every time I come here and I ask for help on my community, it's greatly appreciated that the commissioners and the deputy commissioners step up and do their job wonderfully. And I want to say thank you on behalf of the Unidale community for all that you do. Even when we don't know you're doing it behind doors, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
I do want to address the best, and I think I addressed it the last time, that we have to learn from others. And this is something that I wanted to bring to the town's attention. Prevention is always better than cure. Doreen Harris, who is the president of NYSERDA, her community, which is the town of Donsburg, in January of 2025, adopted a permanent moratorium. And I will tell you why. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a very short 2-page, but I want to get to the point. The purpose: best pose a unique safety hazard with regard to the technology used in such batteries and the tendency of the batteries to catch fire. The town relies upon its voluntary fire companies to combat fires in the town and the evacuation of homeowners when necessary. Most of these BESS are remotely monitored, which means they often or no little notice to provide the town and the first responders when the fires would occur. Moreover, in the majority of the town, there's public water availability, lack of or thereof, for the firefighters, which places additional burden on the volunteer fire companies. And for the last, and another part of their law, this local law is adopted pursuant to Section 10 and 22 of the Municipal Home Rule Law. The town board, after careful review, has determined that it is a public health, safety, and welfare of the community. Please take this into consideration as you vote tonight. Thank you so much.
Anybody else wish to be heard that did not sign in? Okay, may I have a motion?
Mr. Supervisor, I move that the board vote for the temporary moratorium on the battery storage system facilities.
Do I get a second?
I second the motion.
And Missy is second as well? Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Clavin?
Aye.
Councilman Dunn?
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby?
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller?
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella? Councilwoman Ryder?
Aye.
Councilman Schneider?
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. And for any and all who came out, we appreciate you coming out tonight and speaking. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, please call the administrative calendar.
Yes, Supervisor, on the administrative calendar, we have items 6 through 49. I also have one item that is of an urgent or emergency nature. It is entitled "A Resolution Authorizing a Lease Agreement with the Town of Hempstead Industrial Development Agency for Hempstead Town Hall Suites 234, 234A, 238, and 240 at 350 Front Street, Hempstead, New York. This will be added to the administrative calendar as item number 50.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on the administrative calendar? Okay, on the administrative calendar, I have Ms. Meriday. Okay. Is there anybody else wishes to be heard on the administrative calendar, not sign in? Okay, may I please have a motion on the administrative calendar?
I move the administrative calendar in its entirety, including the one piece that we just had a hand up.
Okay, can I get a second?
I second it.
All right.
Okay, on items 6 through 50.
Yep.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryder.
Aye.
Councilman Schneider.
Aye.
Now we have a motion.
Yeah, I'm going to get a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Supervisor Clavin.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Deputy Supervisor Gooseby.
Aye.
Councilwoman Miller.
Aye.
Councilman Muscarella. Oh, I keep doing that. Councilwoman Ryder.
Aye.
Good rubbing. All right. Now that the formal program is over, we stay and listen to the comments of residents, and we'll start off with Jill Masia. Jill Masia? Okay. Regina Krantz? Regina Krantz? Berlinda Myers? How you doing, Ms. Myers? If you just give your name and address, we appreciate it.
Good evening, Berlinda Myers, Lakeview, Long Island. Okay, Supervisor Clavin, I'd like to thank you for restoring our tennis courts. But one thing that we're asking is that the template for the pickleball be restored on one of the courts. They restored it, but they didn't put the template back for the pickleball. So we don't have a court in Lakeview.
How many tennis courts are there?
There's 2 courts.
Okay, I know I have somebody from the Parks Committee team here. They were here. There we go. I'm going to ask them to follow up. That we put it down, and there was just some residents who had some concerns or objections. So I'm going to ask after the meeting my deputy commissioner to talk to you to see if we can come to a resolution. But a couple of residents were not as supportive of the pickleball. We'll find a medium in between.
Yeah, because there's no reason why there should.
I got you. So
But
he's
anyway,
going to stick around and
okay,
talk to you.
the next point is PS&G decimated a lot of the streets in Lakeview when they changed the gas meters years ago.
Yep.
One of the streets in Lakeview, Coolidge Avenue, is on your list, prospective list for the future to be repaved. We're asking that the road hasn't been repaved in 30 years. They patched it, it's crumbling, and we're asking that it be put as a priority to be repaved from the dead end all the way to Wolfield Road, like you all did in the West Hempstead neighborhood, where they got 7, 8, 9 roads paved all at once and not patched like we're doing in Lakeview.
Yeah, just so you know, my deputy commissioner is back there. He'll talk to you. Last year, we did over 100 miles of roadway. In the last 3 years, done 300 miles. I get it, and I get the utilities who tear them up. But let me get you in touch with the deputy commissioner.
I called your engineering department, and they said that Coolidge was on the list, the prospective list. Okay. So we're asking that you make it a priority, because 30 years later, and it hasn't been paved.
Yeah,
Come on.
I got you. We'll see what we can do.
And the next thing is that the community center, the Harold Walker Community Room has an HVAC system that is so loud that when it's on, whatever meeting you're having there, you have to wait 5-10 minutes for the system to shut down in order to even talk. Now, it has been restored, I think, a few years ago, but we don't understand how they put a system in with that type of noise in a community center, when I've been to so many community centers on the island and I've never seen that. So we're asking that system be looked at, reviewed, replaced, something, because it is, if you ever came there to do a meeting, you would have to sit and wait 5 minutes for the sound to go away to even speak. So that's just, And
in July, I'll bring you upstairs to my office. You'll experience the same thing.
and the
That's fine with me.
final 17 seconds is that building on Eagle Avenue on the corner where all those trucks are. We're asking that you continue to keep giving them tickets, and also there are legal people living in that building, and the building department says it isn't, but they're there. We see them every night.
Jeff Tierney's over here. My deputy parks commissioner is going to grab you in the back.
Thank you.
No problem at all, Ms. Myers. Always nice to see you. Pearl Jacobs? Good evening. If you give your name and address for the record, thank you.
Good evening, Pearl Jacobs, Uniondale. Can I have a quick question? How long is the moratorium for?
What? What did you say? Nobody heard you. What?
You're still running my clock, and I just asked a question for the moratorium for the battery.
Mr. Town Attorney?
Can you stop my clock, please?
Ms. Jacobs, we're answering the question. Go on.
You're asking how long the moratorium is?
Yes.
It's a year unless the town board decides to shorten it, and they can extend it.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so I think I have maybe more seconds because you keep running my clock. So the young scholars that were here this evening are enrolled in graduate and doctorate level courses. Many are majoring in health and environmental research for the betterment of society. Unfortunately, our county is championing a casino project that promotes addiction and would be detrimental to our youth. Our county should invest in medical science, environmental research initiatives that would elevate our county to a place of learning and advancements that would attract people to our county for its biomedical research, advancements, and environmental conservation initiatives. At yesterday's legislative meeting, monies allocated for opioid funding in Nassau County were discussed. The amount discussed was $36 million for opioid issues. Nassau County, we have a serious addiction problem. We need more doctors, scientists, and environmentalists, not more addiction. Let's not entice our youth with a casino that would generate more addiction and destroy more lives. Say no to the casino. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. Always nice to see you. Dia Plant? Dia Plant? Okay. Aaron Scott? Aaron Scott? Aaron Scott?
Mrs. Scott?
Who doesn't want to speak is, okay. All right. Michelle Oder? Michelle Oder? Okay. Judith Fills? Judith Fills? Stacy Richardson? Stacy Richardson? Okay. Catherine Westbrook? Okay. I don't have any other slips. If anybody else wishes to speak, did anybody else wish to hear in the public comment that didn't sign in?
The issue with this dog is more about the double standard at the animal shelter for favored dogs versus non-favored dogs. Please keep in mind that there has been a rescue organization that has an incredible, impressive program that's looking to help this dog. I don't know what the issue is, but keep that in mind. I hope that they are being responded to completely if they're asking for records. I'm not quite sure, but please make sure that is happening. There's also the Tales of Hope Fund available. Last time I checked that balance, it was about $60,000. I'm sure people that donate money to the Tales of Hope Fund would like to see it go towards dogs that are given a second chance. A case has been built against this dog since he came in. And it's so contrary to how other animals are treated that are truly aggressive and have been aggressive since they've been in that animal shelter, causing injury, liability. This particular dog, Titan, I had urged the town to offer this dog. He's basically sat in a kennel for 3 months. There's no records on the dog. I foiled that. I'd asked for an evaluation, and what management decided to do was have a virtual evaluation, which it's very hard to evaluate a dog virtually, especially a dog with the background. And I'd like to remind you that the dog is not deemed dangerous in the court.
Ms. Maggie,
So,
not to
yes.
interrupt you, but I understand your point about the virtual examination, and we're going to do an in-person evaluation before anything.
I appreciate that so much, Mr. Towner. What I would like to know is, or be reassured that this is not a evaluator picked by management. If no one got a wake-up call about the union letter and what's going on with that volunteer program being unleashed, I don't know what is going to wake everyone up, but I ask that you not have management pick this particular behaviorist. And again, I really appreciate that. I would really prefer that you move this dog out to the people that are interested and let them do the evaluation. My understanding is that if they find the dog not adoptable, they will euthanize the dog. No one will question that. What I'm questioning is the standards, which are double at that animal shelter. And this dog is a testimony to it. And it's disgraceful. And, so again, please make sure that someone that is not connected with management. Thank you so very much. And thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you, Ms. Madden. Sir, if you come on up to the podium, give your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Raymond Brown, and I am a resident of Roosevelt here in Nassau. And elected officials, I thank you for being present this evening. There is a grave concern in my community, and this concern is for public safety. That safety is speeding along the streets of Pennsylvania Avenue. The visual rate of speed is approximately 50 to 60 miles an hour, which is grievously deadly. This is an accident waiting to happen. Finally, I pray that speed bumps or something of the contrary can be installed, and that it will be installed quickly and safely for all concerned before someone is killed. Thank you, and have a good evening.
It was very nice. You've enjoyed a wonderful evening with all of us for hours upon hours here. It is a county road, but what I'm going to ask is Danny Leo. He's my building commissioner. He's going to take all your contact information. We're going to reach out to our county officials. We're going to reach out to the county police department and ask for a little enforcement down there. I really do mean it. You've been sitting here for hours and incredibly patient, so I'd like to make sure we meant to give you a little extra helping hand. So Danny's going to take your information, and thank you very much for coming out. Couldn't have been any nicer, by the way. No, that's the deputy supervisor. We ran a program Friday night. It was a standing room only crowd, and the guest speaker, who's a relative of Dorothy, was perhaps the best speaker we've ever had here. Spoke a real life, and I learned quite a bit about Dorothy and her family and a lot of atrocities that took place. But I really do mean it. Sometimes it is just nice to end on a really nice person and connect with them. You are like super, super nice. Come visit us any day you want. Very nice seeing you. Thank you all very much. Have a nice evening.